Keys saves the day if you have lost or broken keys. They can program new keys and remotes for nearly every make and model of vehicle at a fraction of the dealership cost. Fast, honest, and reliable locksmith service. Call 722-1111.
Instant Keys. Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
Youth sports at the YMCA's focus on teamwork, discipline, and building confidence. Our experienced coaches can create a positive and supportive environment where your kids can grow, stay active, and develop a love for sports. Sports like basketball, volleyball, swimming, gymnastics, and even elite skills training. Join the fun and register. Give your kids a chance to be a part of something special. Visit fcymca.org to learn all about youth sports at the Y.
The Beach Boys, Endless Summer Gold. This Saturday night at St. Augustine Amphitheater. Tickets on sale now at AXS.com.
This is Molly McDonald with your 1010XL Southeast Orthopedic Specialist local sports update, brought to you by Southern Oak Insurance. With the JU Dolphins men's basketball team headed into the ASUN tournament semifinals, a pair of Dolphins received ASUN postseason honors. Freshman guard Christian Arias and junior guard Robert McRae. Arias named to the All-ASUN first team, and McRae being voted among the 5 best players in the conference, leading the number 4 seeded Dolphins in minutes and points per game. The Dolphins head up to face North Alabama tonight to take on the Lions. Head coach Jordan Mincy on his pregame thoughts.
Very similar to us. I mean, it's very similar to an EKU. They have a guy, Tay Fields, who's kind of a Swiss Army knife. He can play inside out, but at the same time, he can step out and hit a 15-footer. He's an unbelievable rebounder. And then I'll say this, they have the 2 leading rebounders in our league. And so we split with them during the regular season. It's good. Like I said, we feel good about the matchup. We're confident in who we are. We're confident in our brand and who we are.
It's 60 degrees at 12 o'clock. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, get ready to spend the next 2 hours with our 3 sports-loving ladies. Mia O'Brien, Lauren Brooks, and Taylor Dahl.
This is Helmets and Heels
on 1010XL.
Show me what you got, pretty lady.
We had so much fun the last few days. Why not do it again in more ways than one? Mia O'Brien, Taylor Dahl, Lauren Brooks has the week off for vacay. RJ Saunders with us here at 1010XL World Headquarters. Excited to be with you on this Friday Junior. Thursday, Joe Cowart's going to start doing the Modelo Yellow run in about 2 hours when XL Primetime takes over the air.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna even attempt that, especially given the congestion in my head right now, Taylor. So I will just simply say, one day closer to the weekend, we will be on site tomorrow for the Players Preview Party.
Yes.
And so we are.
Which I'm pumped.
Not only one day closer to the weekend, but one day closer to the Players Championship 2025 as well. But we begin today's program with the news of the day. About an hour and a half or so ago, Mitch Morse, someone who doesn't necessarily strike me, Taylor Dahl, as the social media type, breaks the news on Instagram that he is hanging it up after 10 seasons with the Kansas City Chiefs, the Buffalo Bills, and this final season of his career with the Jacksonville Jaguars. For me, not so much a surprise, given if you're Mitch Morse and you're approaching your mid-30s, you've made a lot of money, you've played a decade in the league. It's a grueling position, a punishing position, the center position. Do you really want to sign up for a new regime, a new scheme, trying to earn your way when you know first off, you only have 1 year left on your contract, and secondly, this is a team that clearly has an eye to the future when it comes to its offensive line. So not a surprise for me. And it's certainly not a surprise for listeners of this program, especially this week with the two of us banging the table for the Jaguars to double dip in the NFL draft this year along the offensive line.
Yeah, not a surprise to me either. You know, a decade in the league, and to your point, now having to kind of relearn a whole new offense doesn't sound ideal in year 11 of your career. And especially there were some really good moments last year. There were some really bad moments. And I know that the Mitch Morse trade was always felt to be kind of some patchwork just to get you through a couple years anyways. And obviously you didn't get
very long out of it, but I think there were moments that we were very thankful that Mitch Morse was on the offensive line. Mike Dempsey and I were just talking about that, where unfortunately he probably was the most consistent player on the offensive line, and that doesn't say too much. But I do think in the term of when we're saying now, what do you expect moving forward? That changes things for me a little bit in the sense of we were talking about our interior offensive linemen and who we want out of the draft. And Jared Wilson was one of the guys I listed, and he's a center. And I said, because I do, this is going to be a need that you want to start building. But now all of a sudden it's a little bit more of a dire need.
And I think that in turn, it's a perfect segue to, we will pick up where we left off yesterday.
Yep.
Our top 3 matches for the Jacksonville Jaguars, not our top 3. The NFL draft guide from 1010XL will be coming out at the end of March, and you'll see who our top 5 overall players are at each position. This exercise we've been doing this week on Helmets and Heels is about matches for the Jaguars, matches for, do they need someone who is more physical in the run game? Mm-hmm. Do they need, in the case of the, I don't know, maybe cornerback position, like we're going to do here momentarily, more of a man corner, more of a outside corner, perhaps more of an inside guy, if you believe that Jarian Jones can flex back to the outside, where he played a little bit of time at Florida State, but obviously made his bread and butter inside in the slot. And so let's kick us off, Taylor, with your first match for the Jacksonville Jaguars at the corner position. Obviously, big picture here, we've had the discussion all week. The Jaguars may be holding off until later to address that spot opposite Tyson Campbell, largely because there are pressing needs elsewhere, and also knowing that philosophically from the Sean McVay tree, the focus is on affecting the quarterback. As long as you believe in your defensive coordinator, you could scheme it up on the back end with kind of whoever.
Yeah. So my number 1, I'm going to go with Trey Amos out of Ole Miss. He's the outside zone type guy, but he allowed just a 54.5 passer rating this last season. He had 10 pass breakups, 3 picks. Genuinely, I really, truly think this guy is a day 1 starter, which I also think is important. And like we said, I have some of these guys throughout the draft that will probably get this one. Trey Amos is higher. Some of my guys are going to be more second, third, another one in the third, fourth. But I do think that this is somebody who can be a day 1 starter right away. He's super physical. Everybody talks about his crazy instincts. He's super sticky, really good press man guy. I do think that everything that you're reading, and when you do watch some film and you see people breaking that down, they do say he needs to develop the zone coverage a little bit. But because he's so athletic, they think that at this next level, that's going to be pretty easy for him to develop the traits in that area that he needs to be successful. So I think in my eyes, it's just somebody that is, you can drop in right away, and he can do pretty much whatever Campanile is going to ask of him, which I think is important if you're wanting to get someone high enough to say, hey, we need this guy right now.
And he is someone who I know many of the folks at PFF have mocked to the Jaguars at the top of the second round for months now.
Yeah.
I think he does go in the second or third round. I am curious if the Jaguars actually address corner in the second or third round, which brings me to the name that I'm going to introduce to the conversation. In my estimation, will definitely be going in the second or third round. But, hey, I think he could be a potential fit for the Jaguars. It worked so well last year with Jarian Jones. Why not dip your foot back into that Florida State well? Yes. Noles fans, never say we don't give you the credit and the love that you deserve. My first name, a match for the Jaguars at corner, is Azareye'h Thomas, the corner out of Florida State. Did not do a whole heck of a lot at the NFL Combine last week, only did the broad jump. There are questions about his top-end speed. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, for all the flack that Mike Norvell has been given over the last year, you cannot deny between Renardo Green, now with the San Francisco 49ers, Jarian Jones here with the Jacksonville Jaguars, you go on down the line. You can go all the way back to Jalen Ramsey under Jimbo Fisher as well. If you are looking for a press man corner, one system that through 3 different coaching regimes, I'm going to give Willie Taggart some credit as well, has sought to develop press man corners is Florida State University.
Yes.
And so I think what's interesting about that, though, Taylor, especially because you bring up Trey Amos also as a press man corner, we spent so much of last draft cycle saying that Ryan Nielsen needs a press man corner because he wants to run a man scheme, and it's going to be press in your face, it's going to be exotic, and then what did we get on Sundays?
Yeah, all man.
Yes, all man, but vanilla in terms of the
when
coverage
it comes
scheme.
to the coverage, yeah.
Right.
And I'm wondering, and this is obviously, it's over now, Ryan Nielsen's not here, but there's so many things that draw question marks back to last season, and how much was it he felt he didn't have the personnel to do what maybe he thought, because we were talking about it in Atlanta, and the way he kind of meshed things and made things work in Atlanta, he didn't have some of the talent that he had here in Jacksonville. So it's kind of weird how I feel like maybe it just wasn't personnel that he
It wasn't personal, but the personnel stunk.
Yeah.
Azareye'h Thomas, too, you're going to sense a trend with my three names at the cornerback position. 6'1" and 1.5", 197 pounds, 32 3/8 inch arms. When I think cornerback on a personal anecdotal level, Taylor, I always go back to the first time I ever was at training camp with Coach Dave Campo, and Tyson Campbell was standing about 3 feet from us. I believe this would have been at the Episcopal School, so this would have been Tyson's second year. And Coach Campo, a longtime corners coach in the league, who's probably driving around listening right now, looks at me and he shakes his head and he goes, I love a long corner. I love a big corner. That's a good-looking corner. And I'm thinking 22-year-old Tyson Campbell is probably overhearing this going, what are you doing over here, old man? So, look, but listen, there is no one whose IQ and aptitude for the game that I believe in more than Dave Campo.
Yeah.
And I believe in the idea of long
Especially back
corners,
there.
even if, because Azareye'h Thomas did not run his 40, there's some belief that akin to Keon Coleman, maybe he runs 4.5, 4.6, and so maybe that could have knocked him a few rounds. If he drops, if you're the Jags, I'd consider it, especially in the third round.
Yeah. I'm going to go with my second. I'm going to say I'm going to be a little biased here. Yesterday, I was not in our selections, and I said I wanted to. So today, I'm going to possibly be double biased in each category. But I'm going to go with Benjamin Morse and out of Notre Dame. I really think that he would probably be a top 20 pick if he didn't have this hip injury that he got this last year. And I don't usually like picking people that have injuries, but I think because of that, he has dropped, and I do think that you'll be able to get him at good value. And he's incredible. 9 interceptions, 18 pass breakups, and 31 career games. When it comes to the targeted passer rating, he had the lowest allowed in this draft of all of these draft corners, all of these corners in this draft. He sits right aside Quincy Riley and Will Johnson, two names that you hear a lot in this draft. But along with that, he also allowed the fewest yards per coverage snap allowed, sitting with Jahdae Barron and Trey Amos and Jalen Smith, also names that you're going to hear talked about very highly too. He just has that super, like the short area quickness that I feel like we've lacked here. Elite ball tracker. That's one of the things they talk about a lot. That was one of the things that Notre Dame was missing after he got hurt big time. And, we've mentioned the Riley Mills name and how much that hurt. Benjamin Morse was a massive knock, a massive loss when it came to the Notre Dame defense and how that kind of came down the stretch. But I just think he's going when we talk about getting the ball and those turnovers and the Campanile defense and what he did in Green Bay, both Green Bay and Minnesota both sat at the top in those takeaways, and it was a big part of how their defenses function. So I do think those are massive traits that he's going to be keeping an eye on when he's looking at some of these the defensive backs in general.
Don't feel bad about taking a hurt guy, because I am as well, Taylor. I'm taking a hurt guy who already has gotten some love on the YouTube chat line. You can leave a comment. We are live on YouTube, X, and Facebook. Search 1010XL on YouTube. We'll be right there at the top. Press the live button, and then you can leave a comment. Couple names that I've already seen suggested. Noel Williams, Elijah Huzzy. Hef says, don't worry, I'm looking day 3, guys.
Yeah.
So maybe those names will be included here momentarily, but I said this name was already mentioned, and it is Siobhan Ravel out of East Carolina.
You and I have fallen for this guy.
So, again, you're going to sense a trend when it comes to corners that I have matched to the Jacksonville Jaguars. 6'2", 194 pounds, 32 5/8 inch arms. He's big.
Yep.
He's long. He's physical at the line of scrimmage. I would argue in terms of the hand fighting at the line of scrimmage and being able to really stuff the wide receiver at the line. Some Jalen Ramsey, perhaps? Are we allowed to say his name around these parts? I think we certainly can. I already mentioned him once. Ravel did tear his ACL in September, though.
Yeah.
So will he run his 40 at his pro day? No one knows. He obviously did not do anything at the combine. Yeah. He was clocked last August running somewhere around a 4.344, like high 4.3s, low 4.4s. Now, is that just hearsay? Is it reality? Coming off of an ACL, is he going to be able to do that? That I don't know. But again, I have questions, and you made a great point when it came to Benjamin Morrison and Anthony Campanile and what the takeaway situation was with Green Bay. If there's one knock on Ravel right now, it's that he's not necessarily a ball hawk. If anything, kind of akin to Tyson Campbell once upon a time. That's the part of his game that still needs to grow. That part of Tyson Campbell's game has grown, I believe, in his 4 years in Jacksonville. And so I believe it could also grow for Ravel, especially if you have a ball-hawking defensive coordinator like Anthony Campanile, not to mention a staff that believes in takeaways and affecting the play, whether that be punching the ball out or finding a way to somehow make an impact on the ball.
Yeah, he's a name you and I have mentioned in our office several times when we're not on air, and we've talked about him. Just when kind of film comes up and I see certain all-22 and you go in and you see some of the things that he was able to do. Definitely a guy, and yeah, I think the ball hawk, you can develop that, and I think that Campanile is the type of guy that can. You even saw that in Green Bay, honestly. Some of the guys that took these massive leaps under him when it comes, we talk about the line a lot, but also just in general, the defense as a whole, I think that's something that they'll focus on. But it's funny that somebody said this name because it actually is my third name, Noel Williams out of Cal.
Oh, okay.
That's my third name. So he led the nation. That's another guy when we're talking about these interceptions. Led the nation in interceptions last year with 7, and he had 14 career picks in his time in college. Also really good ball skills. That's one of those things. I'm looking at these guys that are going to go after the ball and find ways to get it out, whether that's, the pass breakups, whether that's batting it down, whether that's punching the ball out. Noel Williams is one of the guys that will do all of that. Super physical. He's excelled at, and this is another thing that stands out to me, he's excelled at multiple coverage techniques too. So he's super versatile. I think that's a positive. Right now, we're in this weird spot where we don't quite know what this defense is going to look like. So some of these players and the versatility, I think, are big things when we're naming them, of possibly seeing them. He transferred from UNLV to Cal. And so even through that competition level, as that grew, you still saw improvement throughout his time in college. I think every year he got better and better. And so that's something to me that now at this next step, you can start to develop him. I don't think he's an immediate starter. So that's one thing for me, that probably more of like a fourth round type guy. But I do think that he'll be able to develop quickly just because of the way that you've seen him each year in college get better. And when it comes to his athleticism and those ball skills, I think it's you can't hide it.
So let me ask you this before I give you my final name for a match at corner for the Jags. What do you think will be valued more? And at this point, we are pure speculation going off of trends. And the great point was made on Duval Rundown yesterday of, will Anthony Campanile run more of a Jeff Hafley scheme or will he run more of a Vic Fangio scheme? What do you think will be prioritized more? Physicality, knowing tackling is the most important thing. We heard that from the horse's mouth when the coordinator spoke a few weeks ago. Physicality and a big frame, or speed, especially knowing that Liam Cohen's philosophy is fast.
Yeah, it will be interesting because I think that when we talk about those two defenses with Hafley and with Fangio, they were very different. But I do think that, if anything, what you saw last year was the best that you've seen Green Bay's defense in a long time. So to me, I think he'd probably take more from the Hafley defense, which is a little more athletic and quick, not the big. Fangio is fantastic. I love Vic Fangio. I'm not knocking that defense at all. I just think with what Campanile likes and the type of players that he likes, the molds he likes, at least up front from what we saw his time in Green Bay, it is more, I feel like, the quick athletic guys, multiple guys that can get to the quarterback. He likes to see it from all areas of the defensive line. And you saw even a rotation, and even the rotational pieces in Green Bay were getting to the quarterback, and that's something we did not see here. So to me, I think we might see a little bit of a combination, because I do think he's going to take some of Vic Fangio, but I would not be surprised if we see more of a Hafley defense here.
Which is why I've gone back and forth with this final name.
Yeah.
There's 2 names. So technically I'm going to lie. I'm going to give you 4, but we're going to say 3. And then Taylor, if you know either of these names, I want your feedback of which you think is the better pairing.
Okay.
Dorian Strong, Virginia Tech, 112 tackles in his 5 years on campus with the Hokies. 2 tackles for loss, 7 picks, 28 passes deflected. Quincy Riley, who was one of the fastest players, regardless of position, at the Senior Bowl, cornerback out of Louisville, played just 3 years at Louisville, was a JUCO transfer. In 3 seasons, 6 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 8 interceptions, 27 pass breakups. Which of those two players? Because, again, and maybe I'm just...
I like both of them.
Right. I like both of them, and I think both of them will be there on day 3 if the Jaguars choose to wait to address the position.
Yeah, and honestly,
and by the way, also just to split hairs even more, Dorian Strong ran a 4.48 at the Quincy Riley ran a 4.48, and Dorian Strong ran a 4.5 flat.
Yeah. I lean towards Quincy Riley. I almost put him on my list, so that's part of the reasoning of that. But I do think he's one of the guys, too, when you go and you look into the targeted passer rating against him, one of the best in college football. It was Benjamin Morrison, Quincy Riley, and Will Johnson had the 3 best or the 3 lowest passer ratings against them. So that I do think is something you have to keep an eye on. I do think, it depends what we see out of this defense, but to me, I think that he could fit either way, and I'm not totally sure Dorian Strong would fit either way.
Right, because I think that Quincy Riley has inside-outside flexibility, and in turn, and not that Dorian Strong doesn't either. NFL.com's comp for him is Martin Emerson. But the thing is like, I think so much of this comes down to where do you believe Jarian Jones is going to play? And I believe he's going to play in the slot.
Me too.
I do believe, depending on how the Jaguars address the safety position, more on that here in just a second, I think that you'll see more Darnell Savage in the slot where he wanted and was told to play.
Yeah.
And again, I think with more of an exotic scheme, you could see a world in which the Jaguars are alternating, having a true cornerback in the slot versus a safety who comes down and crowds the box.
Yeah.
So I think you'll see a little bit of everything. We are still speculating. We are still guessing.
We're still trying to figure it out.
And we want to figure it out with you. So not only can you chime in on YouTube at the YouTube Digital Studio, but you also can leave us your 3 matches for the Jaguars at the cornerback position on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures, 904-641-1010, the number to reach us at. Give us your 3 picks at the cornerback position. We're going to double dip on this fine Thursday. We're going to give you our 3 picks at safety as well, coming up next right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Follow the JU Dolphins on 1010XL.
It's Fins Up at the ASUN semifinal. JU at North Alabama. Tonight at 7 on 1010 AM.
Welcome, John, our new admin lead.
Thanks.
You've got your laptop, all your admin apps. Oh, and you'll be in charge of ordering food for the team. So here's your drawer full of menus.
Whoa.
You'll keep your receipts in this file folder. Whoops. Receipt confetti.
Oh, dear.
Oh, and all these sticky notes have everyone's dietary preferences.
Have you tried EasyCater? Online ordering from great restaurants, tools to save time and stay on budget, digital receipts in one place.
We're going to need a bigger recycling bin.
EasyCater, the smarter, simpler way to order food for your workplace. Order now at easycater.com.
Elevate your happy hour at the new Dua Restaurant and Lounge on Bay Meadows Road. Inspired by the vibrant and diverse culinary traditions of the Mediterranean, Dua has a unique South Florida vibe and welcoming atmosphere. Savor handcrafted cocktails and delicious happy hour specials every Monday to Friday, 5 to 8 p.m. Whether kicking back after work or starting your night in style, Dua Restaurant and Lounge on Bay Meadows Road is where good times and great flavors meet. DuaLoungeJax.com.
Don't miss the Players' Championship, March 11th through 16th at TPC Sawgrass. This can't-miss event features a variety of activities for every fan to enjoy, from delicious bites to the Sawgrass Splash. There are endless fan enhancements that will make for a memorable experience. Plus, watch the top PGA Tour players, including back-to-back champion Scottie Scheffler, take on the iconic stadium course featuring the famous Island Green. Tickets available at theplayers.com.
The road to the playoffs is paved by a strong off-season.
That is the game within the game.
Navigate the way with AA Automotive and 1010XL.
That's a beautiful thing.
AA Automotive on Richard Street. Family run since 1954.
Hi, I'm Mac with Baker Glass. If you've got fogged up windows, let me help. We'll replace them with clear, insulated units that brighten up your home. People say we're fast, friendly, and reliable. Just check out our Google reviews. Call me today. Baker Glass. No one treats you better.
Haymaker Coffee is a local coffee brand to help fuel your daily grind. Why Haymaker? It's fuel for the morning hustle, the late night, and every step of the way. Bold flavors for the bold city. Online at haymakercoffeeco.com.
Here's Linda Beaver.
At Beaver Chevrolet, we believe your experience should be more than just buying a car. It should be a lifetime of confidence, care, and trust. That's why we're proud to offer lifetime warranties and lifetime customer service. At Beaver Chevrolet, we're not just here to sell you a car. We're here to establish a lifelong relationship that you can always count on. It's simple. You deserve the best and shouldn't settle for less. Visit Beaver Chevrolet in Jacksonville, where we're ready to give you a peace of mind for a lifetime.
Did you know your pup could take 30,000 to 60,000 steps a day at Dogtopia of Jacksonville Beach Boulevard? That's a whole lot of tail wagging fun with their best furry friends. At Dogtopia, they turn playtime into exercise, learning, and socialization in their off-leash, open play environment. Dogs build confidence, reduce anxiety, and stay happy and healthy, all while having the time of their lives. Visit Dogtopia of Jacksonville Beach Boulevard today.
Cool Cats Heating and Cooling, the coolest cats in town. Setting the standard in our hometown. Quality service, the best around. Coolidge is the cat that cares about your heating and about your air. Cool Cats Heating and Cooling, the coolest cats in town.
Listen up, poker players. March is heating up at all 3 Best Bet locations. The Bad Beat jackpots are now uncapped, soaring to new heights. So don't miss your chance to win big. Plus, get in on the $42,000 weekend windfall, featuring $1,000 high hands every Friday and $500 high hands on Saturdays. And starting March 3rd, the Race to a Race promotion is back. For all the details, visit bestbetjacks.com. That's bestbetjacks.com.
I'm with Greg from Cycles of Jacksonville, and you got really cool things going on right now because there's new product coming in the showroom. Tell everybody about the Aprilia Demo Days.
March 11th and 12th. It's a Tuesday, Wednesday. We're going to have the Aprilia Demo Truck. We caught them on the way back from Daytona Bike Week. They're going to be there. Come ready to ride.
Tell everybody real quick about Aprilia.
They are a bad Italian motorcycle. Nobody's ever ridden an Italian anything and said that wasn't fun.
Check it out. Cycles of Jacksonville. All the details on their Facebook page.
Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. You know, I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation, light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Go to carlsondentalgroup.com. That's carlsondentalgroup.com for all of your dental needs.
You waited forever for your new fence. Then strangers show up. Subcontractors rushing the job. Sent by the company you trusted. Frustrating, right? Superior Fence and Rail promises better. Their professionally trained builders deliver quality you can trust. No subcontractors, no shortcuts. Just the superior craftsmanship your home deserves.
When you're on the fence, about a fence, superiorfenceandrail.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
We keep it rolling with our 3 matches for your Jacksonville Jaguars by position. We already ran through the offensive line and defensive tackle position each of the last 2 days. Go check those out on the 1010XL Jaguars YouTube channel if you missed them on demand. Mia O'Brien, Taylor Dahl, Lauren Brooks has the week off. We just ran through the cornerback position. So many of you submitted your top 3 matches for the Jags on both YouTube and on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures. Now we pivot to safety, though, Taylor Dahl, and a fascinating position given that, as you went on your rant yesterday, it's a position the Jaguars have invested in over the last 3 off seasons and perhaps have not found the long-term solutions that they were hoping that they would.
Yeah, and I've said this several times this last few weeks. I personally would like to see 2 new safeties. I know some people, it depends what goes on with Andre Sisco. I know some people are a little higher on him than I was. I had him in the beginning of last season when we did our off-season players. You expected to have these breakouts and prove the most. I had Andre Sisco on my list, and I was just highly disappointed by him throughout the season, and I think that it's time. There's been too many opportunities now for him to prove himself. Not saying he doesn't have a spot on the team at all, but I still would like to see 2 safeties. So I'm going to start with this one. I have a feeling this is maybe the one that was also on your list and another bias pick for me, but Xavier Watts. I cannot go through this without
That's why I
listing
sat
him.
here, by the way, folks, during the break, and I said, Taylor, I'm looking up a backup because I know we're going to overlap on one of these.
There's no way I could have gone through this list without naming Xavier Watts. But when you talk about him, just all of the good qualities that Watts has when it comes to instincts, super, super crazy good instincts. Most interceptions among safeties in college football this last season was 30.1 passer rating when quarterbacks are targeting him. No touchdowns allowed. One penalty in 2 seasons. So he's highly disciplined. You're not going to see him make a lot of mistakes whatsoever. You're not going to see him in the wrong places. He's really quick and smart when it comes to being able to kind of predict what quarterbacks are going to do. So a lot of times you're just like, how did he even know to be in the place that he was at? And that's just how smart and how quick he can be too. So he's a really good tackler, too. Not one of the highest rated, but still towards the top when it comes to college football in that top half of the league and the tackling, especially open field tackling. He led the league in this draft class of safeties and coverage production, best coverage production safety in the 2025 draft out of these safeties. And we've talked about the cornerbacks not really being super highly regarded in this draft. The safeties are. A lot of people talk really, really, really good about the safety class, so that is definitely a testament to how good he played. The cool thing about with Xavier Watts too is his whole high school career he was a wide receiver. So he sees the field so different because he's so good at analyzing it from an offensive standpoint, and you could tell that. And I think that is why on certain times there was a pick in the playoff where it literally he was just standing there and everybody was like, how did Xavier Watson even know to be to that spot? But he's so good at predicting what quarterbacks are going to do, where runners are going to go, what gaps they're going to find. He's just so good at all of those things, and it would be impossible for me to not put him on this list.
Anecdotally, I loved Cam Hart. Out of Notre Dame last draft cycle, was selected on day 3 by the Los Angeles Chargers. Screams a Harbaugh player, screams. As we're going through this exercise, Taylor, part of it is because we want to identify what are some themes between these players that maybe suggest this is what a Jaguar will be moving forward under James Gladstone and Liam Cohen. Loved Cam Hart. Fell to day 3 because of the testing, and he is a prime example of you turn on the tape. And what did the Los Angeles Rams do with James Gladstone at the helm of their scouting department for the last 6 years? They turned on the tape. They looked for guys that were intangibly rich. They didn't bank on every single result from the NFL scouting combine.
Well, they weren't there. So they clearly were watching more tape than caring about what they were doing at the combine.
Right. And I think that is where a lot of my picks are going to stem from. Again, we invite you guys to send your 3 picks on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures, 641-1010, as well as the YouTube Digital Studio. Now, I bring that up to say I've seen several people say Nick Emanuari out of South Carolina. I get it. He tested off the charts. He was the biggest winner of the combine. He's not going to be there when the Jags pick at 36. If he is, that changes some things. Because, Taylor, how soon do you believe in the NFL draft that Gladstone will address the safety position?
I don't know. I think I did not put him on my list because of how high I think he's going to go. Honestly, even Xavier Watts, I think, is pushing it to where we may see a safety, depending, because I've seen him fluctuate to where people think Watts is going to go. But I do think there's still possibly a chance. I personally, because I think you need 2 of them, I would not be mad if they addressed it pretty quickly.
Okay.
I know other people may say otherwise just because of the trenches, and now obviously moves with Mitch Morse, another thing that starts to change things a little bit. But I just think that it is, to me, if you don't get 2 of them in this draft, I'm concerned.
So part of that also has to deal with what your perception is of the current room. Darnell Savage, we already referenced, wants to play more in the slot. The expectation is that he will, but he is a safety, and he had to move to a true safety position where he played a lot of his time in Green Bay because, quite frankly, Antonio Johnson and Andre Sisco weren't cutting it. Antonio Johnson still has 2 more years left on his rookie deal. Can he progress, or do you dismiss it and say, you know what, he's an ace special teamer, and that's what we've gotten him? You still have Daniel Thomas in the room, who's God's gunner, one of the best gunners in the league. And you still have Andrew Wingard. 1 more year on both of those deals. And so do you believe either of those individuals should be given a chance to crack the starting lineup? Or, to your point, are you having to either draft someone who is plug and play and plays day one
pretty quickly,
or sign someone in free agency? My expectation is that they are going to sign someone in free agency. Yeah. I've seen tons of Hooligans suggesting Trayvon Moehrig, who was with the Las Vegas Raiders. I have no intel on that, but enough of you are saying it that I'm like, man, you're manifesting out here. So credit to you guys. I don't think it'll be Javon Holland as much as Anthony Campanile and he have a strong relationship. Yeah. Just because Javon Holland is going to be asking for top of the market money at 25 years old. Yeah. And I don't believe the Jaguars are willing to give that sort of investment because, and that's why I asked you that big picture question in our NFL draft guide here at 1010XL, the round table that Gus Logue posted yesterday, and we talked about it on the program. I said, I don't think, and I'm reading verbatim what I wrote, I don't think the Jaguars will prioritize corner nearly as much as many believe, and I think the same can be said for safety. Philosophically, the Rams have long believed that if you can affect the quarterback and trust your DC, you do not need a treasure trove in the backfield. Here is their current secondary in Los Angeles. A former undrafted free agent that they signed in Darius Williams, a former 6th-round pick, a former 4th-round pick, a rookie 3rd-rounder, and an affordable veteran free agent signing. That's your 3 corners and your 2 safeties in Los Angeles right now. Yeah. And so I look at that, and that is why I believe the Jaguars with their first 4 picks will go big people unless someone is to fall. And so without further ado, my first name on this list is a name that, of course, is probably going to go in the 3rd round. And so that throws that entire argument that I just made out. But listen, it's a name that I've been talking about for months. Yeah. Maybe he somehow slips to the 4th just because of the safety position. And that is Andrew Makuba out of Texas. I've affectionately named him the Makuba Missile Crisis, 4-year starter. He's someone who now again, and this is where the Darnell Savage conversation begins and the Jarian Jones conversation begins. Makuba, his best ball, his best tape is when he's playing in the slot. Yeah. And you could say that about a couple of the names that we're going to run through here today. I think that for the Jaguars, so much of who they pick at safety, if they are to draft one, and who they sign, if they sign someone in free agency, comes down to what do you believe of that current room? Do you think Darnell Savage is this versatile chess piece player? If he is, then you're probably not going to look at, I'll just go to my second name on the list, and yes, it's biased, but I feel worthwhile in saying it. Do you just jump right to Sebastian Castro out of Iowa, who played the star position? He's a safety, but he can crowd the box, be a heavy hitter just like Makuba, come into the slot, is a sure tackler, and in turn, then what does that do for you with Savage? Yeah. And so that's why, again, as we're going through the top 3 fits for the Jaguars, it's so hard for me because some of my favorite players in this class who I think culturally would be a great fit for the Jaguars because they're intangibly rich, but they conflict directly with who's already here.
Yeah, and that's why and other people may feel different. I don't have any attachment to any of the safeties in the Jaguars safety room right now. So that is why I have been so heavy on this. And I think that when we did our list the other day of guys we would like to see, I had a Cam Bynum out of Minnesota coming here in free agency and then them also drafting a safety. And so my take is a little bit different, and maybe they feel different. Maybe Campanile does see somebody in that room that he thinks he can further develop. And going back to your point of what the Rams did, the problem with that for me is that the Rams had the 22nd, 23rd ranked secondary in the league. So they allowed top 10 most passing yards. They had almost barely the bottom half in turnovers. To me, that's not functional. To me, Matthew Stafford had to do so much and make up for so much because that secondary was allowing so many things to happen. I don't want a football team where I don't want that. I want to be able to fix this secondary to where Trevor doesn't have to go out and score 35, 40 points to win games because clearly we haven't been able to do that. And so I don't want to have to rely on that. But it's funny because my second actually was Makuba. But I'll go to my next one, which is R.J. Mickens out of Clemson. Mickens, his dad obviously also played for the Jets, so a corner for the Jets a long time ago. So he has that kind of history around the position and the knowledge. And that's what one word I see attached to him all the time is just the true knowledge of that corner position. He's super versatile. This is a thing that I like about him. Super intelligent. He excelled in college in zone coverage and also against the run. More of a slot safety, so that's one of the things that you kind of have to consider when we're talking about having double people here playing the same position. You do have to consider that with him. But he did show a very high level against tight ends when it came to coverage against tight ends, which has been a massive problem here in Jacksonville, is being able to cover those tight ends. So someone like that has really shown through all of his time in college that is kind of his specialty, really attracts me to him.
My problem is, as I'm just going through my list and trying to give you guys my third, because I have a couple names I'm floating back and forth between. I know who I'm going to give you, but my problem, Taylor, is if I'm the Jaguars, I need a true center fielder.
Yeah.
I don't know who that is in this draft class. As highly touted as this draft crop is, I don't know who that true center fielder is that Andre Sisco was supposed to be with 9 interceptions coming out of Syracuse.
Yeah.
So many of the highest rated safety prospects in this year's class are box guys.
Yeah.
They're guys who are going to get after it in tackling, which, again, as we know, is probably going to be a high priority. Are you a sure tackler? Are you physical in the run game? But at the same time, the biggest gaping hole for me in that secondary is who's out there in the middle of no man's land and is able to go sideline to sideline and cover up someone else's inevitable mistake. And look, that's the other part of this. I understand last year there were way too many mistakes. Mistakes happen.
Yeah.
Who is the eraser? Who is the Kyle Hamilton?
Make up for those mistakes.
Look, Kyle Hamilton is one of one, but I was at that Florida State Notre Dame game up in the press box and watching him literally go from one side of the field to the other when someone else missed a tackle and punched the ball out was like nothing I have ever seen before.
And that's what I get out of Xavier Watts. That's why he was the top of my list, because that's the exact type player that he is. But to your point, how quickly are they going to address that? And that is going to be the big thing when it comes to these safeties.
I'm going to go with Billy Bowman for my third, solely because he is a soundbite. He's a talker out of Oklahoma, 5'10", 192 pounds. Arms aren't exactly what you'd want, but he ran a 4.42, which was among the best of any safety at the combine, outside of Nick Emanuwari, of course, who ran a 4.38.
Mm-hmm.
He's been all Big 12 and then all SEC since his sophomore year, has played in almost every single game, was tied his junior year for 4th in college football with 6 interceptions, had 2 last year, 3 pass breakups. Again, a guy who finds his way to the football. You turn on the tape and maybe the speed shows up even more, but has that edge. I think that, again, what the problem is that people question his tackling ability.
Yeah.
And so maybe there's that edge guy, but then something that we've said potentially could be a priority, he doesn't have that. And he is someone, though, again, much like Sebastian Castro, maybe he can play more of that star position where he can go outside the corner a little bit if you need him to, but then he can crowd the box, but then he can go out and be more of a center fielder if you need to on a couple reps here and there.
Yeah.
But then what is Savage? Because he's under contract.
I know. And that's what, I mean.
And if anything, he may have been your most reliable safety last year.
Yeah, and that's what these coaches evaluating this right now is going to be a massive in this, because they may see things that they want to continue to develop, and they just feel that Ryan Nielsen was not doing the right way. And obviously the Eric Armstead's the big, easy one to say, but there was definitely things in the secondary that were just not working, and they kept trying to force it to work, and it wasn't happening. We have to hit break, so I'll say my third just quick, but it's Omar Rogers. I was going to do Makuba, so I'll switch mine over to Omar Rogers, East Carolina. He's somebody that I've seen a lot of people talk about, one of the more underrated defensive backs in the entire draft. They talk about his reaction time in space. He's really hard hitter. When you're talking about sealing the edge, he's really good at that. He also blitzes like crazy. That was like one of his specialties in there. So that's something to keep an eye on if you think Campanile would want a safety who he can use in that world when it comes to rushing the passer, because we want to see the quarterback get hit more.
So just to recap, we did our top 3 matches for the Jaguars at corner, top 3 at safety. For me at corner, Siobhan Revelle, East Carolina, Azarie Thomas, Florida State, Quincy Riley, Louisville. At safety, the Makuba Missile Crisis, Andrew Makuba out of Texas, Sebastian Castro out of Iowa, Billy Bowman out of Oklahoma.
Yep, I had Trey Amos out of Ole Miss, Benjamin Morrison, Notre Dame, Noel Williams out of Cal for my corners, and then my safeties were Xavier Watts out of Notre Dame, R.J. Mickens from Clemson, and then Omar Rogers, East Carolina.
Do you have a top 3 at either position? If so, hit us on the text line, Design by Lifetime Enclosures, 904-641-1010, or, of course, the YouTube Digital Studio chat line is also open. The Terminix Pest of the Day comes up next right here on Helmets and Heels.
This is 1010XL.
Here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Home of the Jaguars.
Jags fans, here's your chance to score a trip to Green Bay for round 1 of draft night. Through the Everbank Draft Night Experience Sweepstakes, one lucky winner and a guest will be there live and in person to see the Jaguars make their first pick. To enter, visit everbank.com/draft by April 4th. That's everbank.com/draft. No purchase necessary to enter or win. Open to legal residents of the 50 United States and D.C. 18 and older. Entry period from 3/3/25 to 4/4/25. For official rules, prize description, odds of winning, and other details, visit everbank.com/draft. Sponsored administrator, Everbank N.A.
At Duck Duck Air Conditioning, we've got a crazy offer just for you. Mia here, and we're giving away free AC inspection to our wonderful customers who call and schedule now. No strings attached, zero cost for you. One of our expert techs will come look at your AC unit and make recommendations to ensure it's running at peak performance ahead of those hot summer months. But you must act today. A deal this good won't last forever. Call 904-862-6769. That's 904-862-6769. Or visit online at duckduckac.com. Any required repairs are not included in this inspection.
Joe C for CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living. They can transform your backyard with fire pits, pergolas, screen enclosures, and outdoor kitchens. And CSS handles the entire project from start to finish. You dream it, they build it. CSSOutdoor.com.
DivorceMenOnly.com. This is Kenny Lay of Kenny Lay & Associates. Our firm specializes in representing men in family law. That's all we do. That's our only focus. We can help with all of your family law needs, such as divorce, custody, alimony, and child support. For over a decade, we have helped thousands of men with these types of issues. We even have an appellate division ready to challenge a judge's ruling. If you need a family law attorney, go to DivorceMenOnly.com. DivorceMenOnly.com. Offices, Jacksonville.
Daly's Dash is not only your Jaguars game day stop, but a great place to grab a meal any day of the week. To honor the Jags and the fans, we've crafted the Duval sub. The Duval comes with freshly sliced turkey, ham, melted cheddar, and habanero jack cheese, topped with crisp lettuce, fresh tomatoes, and a double portion of our secret sauce, all served on a fresh roll. Come by your local's Daly's Dash today to get your delicious Duval sub. Daly's is the official convenience store sponsor of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Baseball is back. Don't miss this year's Florida State baseball game, Tuesday, March 25th at VyStar Ballpark at 6 p.m. This can't-miss event sells out quickly, so buy your tickets today to get the best seats possible. It's Florida State on the diamond at VyStar Ballpark, Tuesday, March 25th. Get your tickets at TaxSlayerGatorBowl.com. TaxSlayerGatorBowl.com. We'll see you at the ballpark.
This Date in Sports History is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On March 6, 1982, the San Antonio Spurs and the Milwaukee Bucks combined for 337 points in the highest scoring game in NBA history at the time.
Get your Irish up. The first St. Patrick Parade was right here in St. Augustine in the year 1601. Join the fun Saturday, March the 8th at 10 a.m. Be sure and wear your green proudly. More at CelticParade.com. Sponsored by St. John's Kelly, PBC.
Reclaim a pain-free life with Rebound Rehab. If you've been injured or simply feeling the effects of an active life, you can rely on Rebound Rehabilitation to get you back in the game. Sitting on the sidelines isn't any fun. Trust Rebound Rehab's team of trained physical therapists to get you back up to speed and feeling full again. Now more convenient than ever. 11 locations to serve you, including new offices in Riverside across from St. Vincent's, Point Meadows, and Middleburg. Just log on to reboundrehab.com to see all they've got to offer.
Mia O'Brien here for Pro Jax Roofing. Here at the Superstation, we talk a lot about pros. Pro football, pro baseball, pro basketball, pro sports. But if you want a true pro when it comes to your roof, you should call Mike with Pro Jax Roofing. Mike's been in the roofing biz for well over 25 years, and when you call, you don't get a recording, you get Mike himself. Find Mike's cell on ProJaxRoofingFL.com. That's ProJaxRoofingFL.com. Don't rely on the third string option. Call in the starter with Mike at Pro Jax Roofing.
Hey, Hicken here, or just call me Dreamfinders Danny. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now's your chance to lock down that rate and get in the game. You heard me right. It's 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit DreamfindersHomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to DreamfindersHomes.com for more details.
Frank Frangie here for Stanley Pools. If you're dreaming of putting in a pool this year, choosing the right company is the most important decision you'll make. I've trusted Stanley Pools to build my pool, renovate my pool, and maintain my pool. Stanley Pools has been the best in the business since 1988, and they're still family-owned. Call them today at 904-269-7277 or find them online at StanleyPoolsFL.com. That's Stanley Pools, a family tradition of fine swimming pools.
Hello, First Coast. I'm sure by now you have seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We're an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We're committed to customer service, reliability, and have an unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today from GFL, Green for Life.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
This is why I love you, Heeligans. This is why I love the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures. We just ran through our top 3 matches at corner and safety for your Jaguars in the upcoming NFL draft. Here's a sampling, Taylor Doll, of some of our submissions on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures. No need for any of these slot safety guys. It's Jarian's job. Okay, preach, agreed. From 903, all the safeties are trash. Pick a new 5 and let's go.
This person's speaking to me. I feel you, 903.
Referring more so to the safeties that are currently on the Jaguars roster than any of our picks, which, again, we'll run through those at the end of the program in case you missed it. Right now, let's check in and see what's bugging Taylor.
Now, Lauren's Terminix Pest of the Day.
So my pest of the day today is Bill Belichick.
Oh.
Let's
work through this.
Let's work through the Bill Belichick pest. So the University of North Carolina has launched its first spring football practice under Coach Belly. It started on Wednesday. So Belichick met with reporters for the first time since he was introduced as the team's new head coach. During this, talking to reporters, Belichick labeled the Tar Heels as the 33rd NFL team. This is what he called them. First of all, bold, very bold. I feel like there's a lot of other college football programs right now that I would maybe say is close to that 33rd NFL team. Honestly, maybe some college football teams that I may say are better than the Jags have been in recent years.
But none of them reside in Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
Yeah, no. But the interesting thing to me, when the more even carry on more interesting facts of this, is that Bill Belichick, when you talk about what him and Mike Lombardi, who the general manager for the Tar Heels, they've been very vocal, both of them, about like their disdain for the NFL. And Bill Belichick went through, there's 2 coaching hiring cycles and nobody wanted him. And you could tell that he was kind of offended by that because he started saying some crazy stuff about the NFL and talking bad about the NFL, yet you want to relate your college football program calling them the 33rd NFL team. Makes absolutely no sense to me. But it's just, it's going to be fascinating to watch this play out. And I know a lot of people, I hear Hayes and Frank talk about it, and even Matt Hayes talking about it and how they think it's going to be successful. I'm not sure. Okay. I'm getting opposite Urban vibes, like the Urban to pro not working out and Bill going back to college not working out because of the way that he coaches. I just don't think it wasn't even working in the NFL anymore, honestly. If it wasn't for Tom Brady, I don't think that a lot of the things that should have worked out would have, or did work out would have, if Tom Brady wasn't there. We talk about the awful drafts they've had in the last few years since Belichick was there. We talk about the lack of development of a lot of players during that time, and I just don't know if he's going to be able to relate to these guys the way you need to in college football right now. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Bill Belichick comes out and turns this program around, and because he has this young girlfriend, he's able to relate to them on a different level.
She's very involved. Kept being told last week she's very involved.
Yeah. But it was just weird comments to me, and especially for someone, like I said, him and Lombardi both being very vocal about not liking the NFL and then relating your program to something you're saying you don't like.
One more joke I got to get off. At least Bill knew to hire a GM, unlike Hubert Davis in North Carolina, and unlike several other athletic directors and football coaches and basketball coaches around the country. So at the very least, he brought Michael with him.
Yeah. He also, and we didn't even talk about this on the show because we broke the news about the Hard Knocks that was potentially going to be in North Carolina. And now since that's been nixed, we haven't talked about that since. Interesting. This is also a weird thing to me because the NFL was the ones who nobody wanted to do it, yet they came to him and were like, no, that's our thing. You didn't want to do it.
Well, my thing is they already had started filming. So I don't know what, like, because front office sports broke. Like, I haven't gotten any intel on that. I'll try to do some if you guys want. But, like, I don't understand. Like, what? Like, you didn't like the first edit after, like, it was announced? Like, hey, like, all the big graphics packages over the, like, this is official. Like, this is what's happening. We've been filming. Ha, ha, ha. And you didn't like the first cut, maybe?
That's weird. Yeah. I didn't know they had already started officially filming it, so that makes even less sense than it did before.
And that's why I'm curious exactly what the contract situation looked like. But regardless, to your point, what I am so fascinated by is that we sit here, not just on the Superstation, on terrestrial radio, but even on Duval Rundown this morning. Gus and I did a great podcast, which you guys, of course, can listen to on demand and on the 1010XL Jaguars YouTube channel. And the goal of today's episode was to identify the top 3 potential replacements for Christian Kirk via free agency, trade, draft. And we ended up having a philosophical conversation about what the slot receiver is in today's day and age versus what traditionally it has been here in Jacksonville. In that same vein, we ended up talking about the McVay-Shanahan offense, which is obviously, by most accounts, where the league is headed, and it's a tree that Liam Cohen comes from.
Yeah.
In that same vein, I want to know, is Bill Belichick going to try to reinvent what's coming next? So often we hear that the reflections of college pour through to the NFL, and college is 9 times out of 10 ahead of the NFL because they can try things out. They can throw spaghetti against the wall and see if it sticks or not. Is that the approach they're taking? Or is he going to go back to the old school practices, not just off the field, but even defensively, schematically on the field, and say, circle peg, square hole, I'm going to make this work?
So do you think that he's more so trying to reinvent something in college?
Yeah. I mean, if he's saying they're the 33rd NFL team, that's what it reads like to me.
Yeah.
I would like to think, and again, especially, having Michael, I think that as much as, yes, they're both NFL guys, the fact that he came in day one and said, I'm bringing a general manager with me, and now you see Jim Nagy get hired by Oklahoma, and yes, Hubert Davis got extended on the basketball court and then had to hire a GM. Like, for me, everyone is seeing what they're doing on that side, and now they want one of those, and they want to create this. And I understand, Florida fans, I know you're out there and you're, like, getting upset because you're like, we also hired a GM. Yes, I know. And you were going through that process around the same time that Lombardi and Belichick were being courted by North Carolina.
Yeah.
But the point is that that's progressive. I am curious. I do not know if the on-field will be as progressive. Certainly his son is the defense coordinator for Jed Fish in Washington. Had one of the more stylistic, exotic defenses in, I wanted to say the Pac-12, in the Big Ten on the West Coast.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to follow along. I think when you're talking about, I think Bill took a step when it came to this general manager thing because he's coming to a world he's not familiar with at all. With all of the new NIL and the transfer portal and going through all of that, it's a completely different world in college football than it is NFL, but than it was before in college football. So he made the smart move and said, I'm going to need some assistance in this, and now maybe because he was bold enough to be like, I can't do this alone, other schools were like, okay, well, that makes sense.
And also, I think most of these coaches have made it known that they want to coach,
not have to deal with all of the other
They're not trying to work 2 full-time jobs that both require 20 hours a week in overtime pay. From 339 off the text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures, thoughts on Robert Hainsey as a free agent center. Good news, 339, who actually comes from North Dakota. Love that area code. Gray Zabel, is that you? Gray. No, we don't want Robert Hainsey. We want you. Our next guest, Taylor Dahl. Tell us who our next guest is. I think very appropriate and perhaps can answer 339's question.
Yeah, we have Michael Giannetti coming on up next. He's the co-founder and editor of Spot Track, so we'll be able to get into all things when it comes to the Jaguars contract situation, some of these free agents coming up, some of the guys that the Jags have recently parted ways with, so some good talks coming up.
Michael Giannetti of Spot Track is next on 1010XL.
For many, it's the happiest place on earth.
At 17 in Players Championship.
Get live Southeast Orthopedic Specialist leaderboard updates.
Covered by Universal Roof and Contracting.
Cool Cats Heating and Cooling.
And Beaver Toyota.
On 1010XL.
I'm Clayton Bromberg, the president of Underwoods. One of the biggest changes we've seen in fine jewelry over the last 25 years has been the growth of jewelry designers. At Underwoods, we're the leader, bringing to North Florida the best names in designer jewelry. In fact, we carry designer lines in a similar way to how clothing stores carry designer labels. The difference is that jewelry designers have to be a little more timeless in their presentations because nobody wants to buy a fine piece of jewelry only to find out the next year it's gone out of style. That's why you'll find at Underwood's the best of the jewelry designer names, those that are tried and true and popular. Names like David Yerman, Roberto Coin, John Hardy, Marco Bichigo, Jude Francis, Lagos, Hippolyta, and a lot more are all available right now at Underwood's. So if you want the best looks in designer jewelry, stop by Underwood's, San Marco, Avondale, or the shops of Ponte Vedra.
Value or flavor? Price or taste? Why choose when you can get both with everyday deals at Sonny's? Right now, you can get the pork big deal for $10, the pork and rib combo for $12, and all you can eat ribs for just $19.99. Yep, you heard right. All your favorites are now available all day, every day. And that's why it's always Sonny's here. Sonny's Barbecue, local pitmasters since '68.
Joe C. for Hard Rock Bet. Football season may be over, but there's plenty of action everywhere else. Not sure what to bet on? Check out the Discover page at Hard Rock Bet. You can download the app or head to hardrock.bet. College basketball, we're closing in on the biggest tournament of the year. Don't go in blind. Bet on the action today. Hard Rock Bet. Download the app. Offered by the Seminole Tribe of Florida. Must be 21 plus and physically present in Florida to wager. Terms and conditions apply. Concerned about gambling? Call 1-888-ADMIT-IT.
Are you an experienced chiller technician and looking for a role where your skills are truly valued? It's time to make the move to Local 234, plumbers, pipe fitters, and HVAC technicians. You'll get top pay, comprehensive health and welfare benefits for your family, and a pension that doesn't come out of your pocket. Join the team that's got your back. Local 234, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Visit UA234.com to send your resume today.
Equal opportunity employer.
Are you 18 years or older, just got married, just got divorced, or have children? Listen up. Have you done your last will and estate planning? If you have questions, call Matt Hinson with the Hinson Law Firm. Reach him at 527-1700. Office is Jacksonville, Florida. And don't let the state decide your fate.
Are you looking for a place to outfit your truck or van? It's Catlin Truck Accessories. For 105 years and 4 generations, Catlin is the name you can count on. This is Keith Catlin, and we know trucks and vans too, from Lear toppers, ladder racks, van shelving, strobe lighting, roll and lock bed covers, and everything in between. If you want quality products and great customer service, there's only one name. It's Catlin.
Who can you count on? Count on Catlin.
For 105 years, you can count on Catlin.
The flagship station of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
How likely is it to live to be 100 years old? The answer coming up.
When you file a claim with Southern Oak Insurance, we schedule one of our trusted vendors to work directly with you, which means a faster claim resolution. Find out more at southernoak.com.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
In the United States, about 5% of women live to be 100, but only 1.8% of men.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
Attention golfers, Hidden Hills Golf Club is an attractive destination for golfers all over the Southeast. You too will enjoy our classic Arnold Palmer design that will test your game and keep you coming back. Book a tee time at hiddenhillsgc.com.
Keeping kids active is a full-time job for parents. Look no further, though, than I-9 Sports, covering Duval, St. John's, and Clay to get your youngster in the game. Spring and summer registration open right now for flag football, soccer, t-ball, and basketball. Plus, all new girls volleyball at Duval Charter Bay Meadows. I-9 Sports with fields and gyms all over 3 counties. And the best thing is I-9 Sports offers sports year-round so kids can always find a sport to play. i9sports.com. Enter 1010 in the promo code.
Attention skilled electricians. Are you undervalued at your current company? Time to step up to the bigger projects and better opportunities. Join the team at Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering not just the job, but an experienced, top-notch pay, unbeatable benefits, and the best working environments in the business. Please join the team that values your skills and rewards your hard work. Elevate your career to new heights. Apply today at millercareers.com, an equal opportunity employer.
Hi, I'm Mac with Baker Glass.
If you've got fogged up windows, let me help. We'll replace them with clear, insulated units that brighten up your home. People say we're fast, friendly, and reliable. Just check out our Google reviews. Call me today. Baker Glass. No one treats you better.
Collisions happen on every play in football. Collisions also happen every day on the road. If you need auto body repair, from a $30 job to a $30,000 job, trust San Jose Collision in Mandarin.
This is Molly McDonald with your 1010XL Southeast Orthopedic Specialist Local Sports Update, brought to you by Dogtopia Beach in St. John's Bluff. The Gators are back in contention for the number 1 seed going into March Madness tournament after their victory against the top-ranked Crimson Tide last night, 99-94. The Gators, who were led by Alex Condon with 27 points, 10 rebounds in last night's victory, only have 1 game remaining before the SEC tournament. Head coach Todd Golden is proud of his team for maintaining the lead throughout the second half.
Really proud of our group tonight. Just an amazing win, obviously, going up against a fantastic team here at Alabama, a club that's been one of the best teams in college basketball for the last couple of years. Coach Oates has done an incredible job just getting this program to be a perennial top 10 team, and for us to be able to come in here and play with the lead for 27 minutes and not ever get behind in the second half was just a great effort for us.
It's 62 degrees at 1 o'clock. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farrah & Farrah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
All right, we are back. It is time to talk some money. We are joined now by Michael Giannetti, co-founder and editor of Spot Track. This year, or just recently, we got the news that the NFL has increased the salary cap to $279.2 million, an increase of nearly $25 million over the 2024 cap. So we're going to talk a little bit of that, a little bit of Jags, maybe some free agents with Michael. Thanks for hopping on with us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Let's start with one of the recent moves, Michael, from yesterday, and this was the Jaguars releasing Christian Kirk, a move that reports say cleared, I think, about $11 million. So share a little bit about that move, how it benefits the Jags, what you see for Christian Kirk at his next stop.
Yeah, this is a tough one. Obviously, this has been an injury plague sort of the last couple seasons for him, and I think it was just a situation where new front office, a lot of quick decisions have to be made here, and, staring at a $24 million cap hit for a player like him, probably just safer just to get out of this thing and then have discussions with what has become now a growing wide receiver list, right? So, yeah, they clear about $10.5 million of salary cap per this move, and that'll all live in 2025, and now it's about going out and finding some sort of replacement for the WR2 slot here.
That, coupled with Mitch Morse's retirement announcement this morning, Michael, creates a situation where the Jaguars now have $49 million in effective cap space. That would be 13th in the National Football League at that number. Evan Ingram, the highest cap number at 19.5. Trevor Lawrence right behind him at 17. Big picture here, before we ask you specifically some names that may be matches for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Do you anticipate a shopping spree or any sort of, multiple massive splash signings for a first-year administration in Liam Cohen and James Gladstone?
I've seen it go both ways, right? I've seen somebody come in and just decide that aggressively changing the names on the roster is the right approach. I have a feeling, because of just sort of reading some of the tea leaves of where this front office is headed now, that it's going to be much, much more of a draft and development situation, especially with Trevor Lawrence basically fully guaranteed for 4 years here. There's a window, but it's not a slamming shut window when it comes to that financial aspect of it. So I do think it'll be more of a preserved off season. There will be 1 or 2 names. There's no question about it. They're going to use up some of this cap and certainly spend some cash. I would imagine both on the defensive side of the ball and on this offensive line now, especially with Morse walking away. And those are smart signings, of course. That's where this franchise needs to be. I wouldn't expect any flashy weapon signings in terms of offensive playmakers, but there are plenty of time to do that once this roster gets a little bit better. So not splashy, but maybe intelligently pinpointing a couple of targeted positions this offseason.
There are several contracts coming up, too, that the Jaguars, especially for 2026, that the Jaguars are going to have to evaluate and decide on. Two of the bigger names during that time are going to be Evan Ingram and Travis Etienne, and what to do with those two guys. What would you expect when it comes to the numbers and how we've seen this increase of running backs and now these running backs getting paid again, and then obviously the tight end room? What would you expect out of those two if the Jaguars were to re-sign those guys?
Yeah, the ETN one's tough. It's been such a roller coaster, and the talent's there, and the versatility's there. So I think they feel okay having him on this $6 million salary for 2025 to sort of see if they can right this ship. Look, the numbers have been good at this position. It was a really nice 18-month stretch here, obviously, with Barkley getting the icing on top of the sundae here. But I've got ETN still as about an $8 million running back, all things considered. It might push forward a little bit with a great year this year, but at the end of the day, he's sort of a younger, a little bit more versatile version of James Conner, who's had a nice couple years in Arizona, and I think that's probably where a lot of these running backs are headed, despite the fact that the top of the market's kind of exploded here for a couple of years. So, that's not something he's going to want to hear, because I know that a lot of these guys are trying to bank off the Barkley, Henry, Jacobs numbers that exist now. But unfortunately, this is still a position that a lot of teams are going to keep somewhat tempered, somewhat revolving doorish. And by the way, there's a incredibly great draft of running backs set to come out here in 2025, which is going to make this conversation even harder. Ingram's tough. Ingram's on the bubble right now for me in 2025 as just a contract that seems to be a little bit higher than the value and certainly the production that we've seen. I know there's a very strong relationship between quarterback and tight end here. I realize that Christian Kirk being off the roster leaves a gigantic hole in terms of wide receiver production. But Ingram is one of those players that I think could be extended for cap purposes, could be released for cap purposes, could be shopped for cap purposes, and I'm going to keep him in that boat until we get through the next couple of weeks here, because I do think there'll be some surprises, and that might be one of them.
Yeah, I think that's the boat we're all sitting in.
At Spotrac, that's SPOTRAC, is where you can find Michael Giannetti's stuff on X. And, of course, Spotrac is also the website that has all of the contracts, all of the rankings, player by player, cap numbers, everything you need to know when it comes to money in the National Football League and all of the major sports. Michael, let's specifically zone in on a couple different positions on the open market next week when free agency in the league year officially begins. The cornerback market. Looking at NFL.com right now, Greg Rosenthal of his top 101 available free agents as of this writing in the National Football League, 3 of the top 10 are corners. Jaguar fans have been clamoring for that spot opposite Tyson Campbell if Jarian Jones is to truly play in the slot. Realistically, number one, can they even spend that top-of-the-line money? That remains to be seen. So I'm curious, kind of give us your tiers, your lay of the land when it comes to the cornerback position once free agency begins.
I actually like the value here a little bit more than the top of the market, right? There's going to be some splashes. I do think DJ Reed coming out of the Jets here will get himself upwards of $15, $16 million a year. I think Tavares Ward coming out of San Francisco is probably in that same boat. So those are sort of the top of the market guys. But, a Carlton Davis could be slightly less than that. Asante Samuel, slightly less than that. And then as you go down the list, we've got some pretty nice starting, potential outside cornerbacks here, like a Jonathan Jones, like even a Stephon Gilmore in his twilight years, and maybe even Dante Jackson, who's been bounced around a little bit here. So it's going to range from $16 million to like $5-6 million a year. So can Jacksonville afford something in that range? Of course. It's a huge position of need, maybe the primary position of need now outside of offensive line. And I would imagine that there'd be a conversation with a couple of these players starting next Monday when this negotiation window opens.
Let me just throw a couple corner names at you, because I know our listeners are certainly throwing these names at us on the text line and the YouTube chat line. Byron Murphy, Minnesota, right now. You mentioned DJ Reed, Charvarius Ward, formerly of the 49ers, and then Carlton Davis with Tampa and Detroit.
Look, Murphy's numbers are really, really out there. Our mathematical algorithms love this guy, and I know in some of the PFF situations, he's also rated extremely high. He's got a chance to be the big breadwinner here, like $19-20 million a year, especially where this market's headed. So I'm not going to put Jacksonville in that conversation. I love the Carlton Davis conversation, though. I really do. I think there's a world where he's outpriced himself from Detroit. Detroit's gonna look for some bigger fish and start to reset some of these contracts. So if this is a guy you can get in at 3 for 13, 3 for $40 million overall, half of that fully guaranteed, that's a name, because he's got playoff pedigree, he's got Super Bowl pedigree, he's got a lot with him right now, and I think that's probably the kind of guy you put opposite a young player for the next couple of seasons and don't even set it and forget it.
Michael, I want to talk a little bit about the quarterbacks. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence getting his contract this last offseason, but because they did have 2 more years on the current and it was going to start after that. So a lot of people, that was kind of some of the justification of how they ended up handling it. But what are you seeing trend-wise when it comes to some of these recent quarterback contracts? Because I feel like everyone has been a little bit different when it comes to that cap hit, the total cash, the contract average per year, all of that stuff. So are you seeing any trends, and do you see that changing anytime soon?
We had a really good run of $55 million per year contracts for a couple months there, right? I mean, that's sort of the going rate. And then, of course, the Cowboys had to go well above that because of the leverage situation they were put in by Dak Prescott. So, yeah, a lot of it happens because of the waiting game. And that is why I've always given this Jacksonville front office a little bit more credit than I think others have in just identifying the fact that they didn't have a way to replace Trevor Lawrence, and extending him as early as possible is actually the best approach. Now, I'm not sure I completely agreed with 5 years effectively guaranteed on this contract, which is essentially what it is. But I do like the timing of when they did things. Start the clock now. Give yourself a decent window to rebuild this roster as you need to. But in terms of where things are headed, it's going to be a weird year, right? Most of the quarterback contracts we have, at least in front of us, have significant red flags, right? Whether it's Brock Purdy and who is San Francisco betting against, and Sam Darnold, and maybe his 1 or 2 suitors now. And the only conversation I think to have about really pushing this market into a whole new stratosphere is if Buffalo decides to extend Josh Allen, who is very cash-stricken this year in terms of what he's set to make. So we might have a bit of a holding pattern for a good calendar year here on this quarterback market, but I expect with a salary cap that's going to be over $300 million next year, a lot of things to change, especially when the C.J. Strouds and those players of the world have to come up for their first extensions.
A couple more for Michael Giannetti of Spot Track. Let's look at a couple other positions on the open market, Michael. Offensive line, especially given the news this morning of Mitch Morse retiring, has been a talking point among fans here in Jacksonville. Do the Jaguars actually go out and draft 2 rookie offensive linemen and start them day one, or do they seek a veteran option at one of those 2 positions if they are to part ways with right guard Brandon Scherf? Drew Dahlman is a name that apparently Taylor and I were the 2 people in the universe who didn't know who this guy was, or that he's like a top 15 rated free agent by every metric. With all due respect to the Atlanta Falcons and their now former center, who is expected to command big money on the open market, what do you make of this offensive line free agent class, and is it worth investing and potentially throwing a bag at Drew Dahlman?
Yeah, Drew Dahlman's going to be one of those names in the next couple of weeks that when you see $40 million guaranteed, most of the world goes, what is happening? Not unlike, by the way, when Christian Kirk signed in Jacksonville a couple of years ago. That was the big wow moment in free agency a couple of years back. I don't think they go that big. I do think there's a world where they're drafting some sort of interior lineman early. I would imagine that would be the guard. It's a pretty decent guard class, and that's sort of the building block that you want for 4 to 5 years, rookie, cost controlled. There's a decent amount of veteran centers set to hit this market, and I would be looking at Coleman Shelton, who, by the way, has experience both at center and at guard. He'll be falling off this Bears roster after they aggressively already rebuilt their offensive line over the past week here. He's not going to command too much, right? So if you want to bring him in on like free for 15 and sort of give him a chance to settle in along with Trevor Lawrence through the remainder of his guarantees, I sort of like that idea. That's a player that's bounced around on some halfway decent teams and has some flexibility on that line as well.
Michael, before we let you go, I want to ask you a couple of these, a couple moves done the last couple days when it comes to the NFL, but I think the big one is the Browns restructured Deshaun Watson's contract. They cleared about $35.8. That's a contract where I think everybody just is trying to figure out what they were even thinking in the beginning of that. But when it comes to that sort of stuff, when teams start restructuring and they're getting that $30-40 million in the restructuring, what are they usually doing to allow that to happen or get that to happen?
Yeah, so it's a real simple process, right? It's just taking salary that already exists. Many times it's already fully guaranteed, and just converting it to a signing bonus so that for salary cap purposes, it becomes now a 5-year spread out hit versus one take all in one season. So for Deshaun Watson, this is the third consecutive year that they've done this. They've freed themselves up $36 million of cap space effectively, and they've essentially ruined the next 2 years of their salary cap table, because Deshaun Watson now sits with an almost $82 million cap hit next year. And then when this contract actually officially expires, as of today, there's over $53 million of dead cap that will hit their books in 2027, assuming something doesn't happen significantly over the next couple of seasons here with them releasing him. But that's what they're doing. That's what teams do. That's what Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb have just done in Dallas. They have pushed everything down 5 years so that eventually when things go, off the rails and some sort of release or trade has to happen, that respective team is going to have to take that cap onto their books. It's nothing that they can send to the other team. It's nothing that can be eventually restructured or retained. It's bonus that's been paid, so they have to allocate that cap. They're just deciding to do it later instead of today.
Okay, one more for you, Michael. Just because our theme today, we led the program off. Our theme for the week, as a matter of fact, through the NFL draft. Maybe we'll do it for free agency either. Well, I guess next week is free agency. Just kidding. But what our theme has been this week has been we have identified 3 prospects at each position. Maybe not our top 3 prospects at each position, but certainly the 3 prospects who match the Jaguars and what we believe the Jaguars need the best. And so we did corners and safety today. I already asked you about the cornerback market in free agency next week. Safety. I know I heard in Indianapolis last week that the Jaguars could be seeking, in addition to the Carlton Davis report, they could be seeking help at safety through free agency. Javon Holland's going to command top-of-the-line money at 25 years old. Who are some other names perhaps more in the Jaguars' wheelhouse if they are to go that route?
Well, Cam Bynum's for sure going to fall out of Minnesota now. He's probably the number 2 safety available on the market. They just signed one of their younger kids to a 2-year extension not a few minutes ago here. So I would imagine Bynum's next in line. He's going to drop down into the 14 to 15 million per year mark. Might still be a little bit too rich for Jacksonville, right? So here's a name. He might be looking for more of a contender role because he's been on one for quite a long time, but I really like Justin Reed out of Kansas City. I really think this kid, everywhere he's dropped in, has become a star in a secondary. He knows exactly how things work in some very unique situations, especially working with Steve Spagnuolo for the last couple of seasons. He's going to be expensive, and Jacksonville's going to have to overpay to get him in their door, of course, but experience, versatility, and just rock-solid consistency, that's a name I love for Jacksonville.
I love that. I know Cam Bynum we had a list that we made earlier in the week, and Cam Bynum was on my list of how they would approach the safety room, but I kind of was in the same realm of I don't know if they're going to want to pay somebody that amount that he will probably be getting this offseason. But again, Michael Gannett, co-founder and editor of Spot Track, we really appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
And, of course, you can find all of those numbers, the cap number.
The website is wild.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for contracts, if you're looking for player rankings, if you're looking for cap space by team, again, NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, WNBA. I didn't even ask him about the Fever.
Oh, my God.
I should have asked Michael about the Fever, and are they done spending in WNBA free agency? But I digress. Still a whole lot to do. We're going to take you around the league coming up next right here on Helmets and Heels on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
1010XL takes you inside the program director's office with Dan and Jeff.
You two project this image of the perfect couple when clearly it's a lie.
The Drill.
Thoroughly shameful performance.
Mornings on 1010XL.
Call 904-500-COOL. Ideal Conditions.
Ideal Conditions Heating and Air Conditioning is your go-to for all AC repairs and replacements. Just gas your AC. For exceptional service, call 904-500-COOL or visit idealconditionsjax.com to schedule your estimate today.
Call 904-500-COOL.
Honk if you see us. Call for service.
Ideal Conditions.
Idealconditionsjax.com.
Sometimes you just want more. Like when the dessert menu says you get chocolate ice cream on top of chocolate cake, right? Getting more is awesome. And that's what makes this sale so amazing. It's a sale on top of a sale going on now at Arlington Toyota Pre-Owned. Mia here, and I'm talking low down payments on top of low monthly payments. Like 0 down and just $288 per month for a pre-owned 2022 Toyota Corolla. Or you choose a pre-owned 2021 Camry, RAV4, or Tacoma for $0 down and $388 per month. At Arlington Toyota Pre-Owned, it's not just a sale on top of a sale. Oh, did I also mention everything is on sale? You can even choose no payments till July 2025. You heard that right. No payments until July 2025. With over 600 vehicles on the lot and 60 days to love your purchase or exchange it, getting a whole lot more is exactly what you'll get at Arlington Pre-Owned. Shop in person on Atlantic Boulevard, just a quarter mile east of 295, or online at arlingtontoyota.com.
Summer in Jacksonville. Sun's out, flip-flops on, and whoa! Well, there goes Uncle Bob into the pool again. Protect your pool deck with Don't Slip Deck Coatings of Jacksonville. Their multi-layered slip-resistant coatings keep you on your feet, not on your backside. Durable, stylish, and way cheaper than an ER visit. Don't Slip Deck Coatings even has indoor options so your kitchen floor isn't a skating rink. Call 904-466-1839 for a free quote and follow Don't Slip Jacks on Facebook and Instagram.
Don't miss the Players' Championship, March 11th through 16th at TPC Sawgrass. This can't-miss event features a variety of activities for every fan to enjoy, from delicious bites to the Sawgrass Splash. There are endless fan enhancements that will make for a memorable experience. Plus, watch the top PGA Tour players, including back-to-back champion Scottie Scheffler, take on the iconic stadium course featuring the famous Island Green. Tickets available at theplayers.com.
A hardworking student athlete deserves recognition.
Catch the Southeast Orthopedic Specialist Scholar Athlete of the Week. Brought to you by the Plumbers and Pipefitters Local Union 234. Wednesdays on The Franchi Show.
On 1010XL.
David Lane here, and once again, I'm happy to share news of my success with back and knee surgeries at Southeast Orthopedic Specialist. Whatever it is that's bothering you, take it from me. Simply set an appointment today at Southeast Orthopedic Specialist and let them help you get back to normal life. I'm certainly glad I did.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Looking for adventure? Need a machine that works as hard as you do? CF Moto has you covered. At Ride Now Beach Boulevard, we've got CF Moto ATVs and UTVs built for any task, any trail, anytime. Tear up the dirt with the trail-tested C-Force ATV lineup or conquer through terrain with a Z-Force UTV. Find your CF Moto ride today at Ride Now Beach Boulevard or visit ridenowbeachboulevard.com. ATVs and UTVs are for riders 16 and older. They can be hazardous to operate. CF Moto recommends an improved safety training course.
Homeowners, listen up. It's time to start fresh in 2025. Prosser here, and Loan Pronto is here to help take control of your finances in 2025 by lowering your house payments and consolidating that nagging debt. Did you know that 9 out of 10 borrowers get a better deal by calling Loan Pronto? Right now, Loan Pronto has some of the most competitive offers for refis, debt consolidation, and purchase loans, starting in the low 5s APR. If your current rate is over 6%, don't settle for paying too much. Even if you're in process with another lender, call Loan Pronto now. Lock in at a lower rate today and close in as little as 2 weeks, often with no appraisal. You can even skip your next 2 house payments. It's fast, easy, and hassle-free. Get your personalized Loan Pronto rate quote instantly with no hard credit pull and no upfront fees. Call now, 904-999-1508, or go to loanpronto.com. That's 904-999-1508. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, NMLS consumeraccess.org.
This is Corona Premier. It's the light beer you didn't know was a light beer until right. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Now, Corona Premier, an unexpectedly light beer.
Corona Premier, a light beer with just 90 calories and 2.6 grams of carbs. The premier side of life. For those that are active and on the go, pick some up the next time you're heading out to enjoy the day under the sun. Corona Premier, an unexpectedly light beer.
Baloo here for Smoonez Vision. Why Smoonez Vision? Well, I've been with Dr. Neil Smoonez now since I got back to Jacksonville in 2006. 37 years of experience he has. Smoonez Vision is a family organization that focuses on personal high-quality medical and surgical eye care. Dr. Catherine Smoonez is fellowship trained in cornea and cataract surgery and all refractive surgery. Combined, that's 30 years plus in laser eye surgery. Visit SmoonezVision.com today. Here you can see.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Inching closer and closer to the weekend. Our thanks again to Michael Ganetti of Spa Track for joining us here on Helmets and Heels. Mia O'Brien, Taylor Dahl, Lauren Brooks has the week off. Producer RJ Saunders keeping everything on the straight and narrow here at 1010XL World Headquarters. Taylor Dahl, I am going to give you a handful of names who have been released over the last few weeks from the last week in the National Football League by their former teams. Variety of positions.
Okay.
You tell me, if you are the Jacksonville Jaguars, we've run through their needs. We've run through who the two of us would sign, who we would add in free agency, the NFL draft, which routes we would take. Let's start with three names.
Mm-hmm.
Joey Bosa, released by the Los Angeles Chargers yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Javon Hargrave, expected to be released when the league year opens on Wednesday. And Tyler Lockett, wide receiver, Seattle. Any of those names, someone who if you are James Gladstone, you would pick the phone up and give a call to.
Yeah, those are some interesting names. I will say, I'm going to go ahead and say no to Tyler Lockett. I feel like we're kind of, and we've already started to see, look, Tyler Lockett's one of those guys, and he's always going to be one of the ones when we talk about his speed and his quickness and some of the things he can do in that element. But to me, he's heading into year 11, and even though this last season you're still seeing 600, 894. He had 4 straight years with over 1,000 yards. So I think like people automatically get attracted to those things, but you've definitely seen a little bit of a decline. And maybe some people will say that's because maybe the Geno Smith offense and what really was going on there. And they had a lot of guys when it comes to a DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith, and Jigba was getting some more playing time there. So it will be fascinating. I just personally don't think that is a fit here for Jacksonville. When it comes to Joey Bosa and Javon Hargrave, those two are very interesting. I think that Javon was injured most of the year this last season, but previous to that, you're still getting 7.5, 7 sacks, 11 sacks. He's one of those guys who's played nose tackle. He's played kind of all over the line, so that is a beneficial thing, I think, if you brought someone in who has experience at multiple spots on the defensive line. The injury part is a little bit of a concern because he missed pretty much the entire year this last year. So how healthy is he? How much are you actually wanting him to be out there? Is he more of a rotational guy? How much is he going to be worth? That one's interesting. I hate Joey Bosa, but I can't stand the man. But I want to kind of say it may be a fit. We want to talk about having that another edge guy to mix in and not have to have Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker on the field all of the time and getting all of the sacks. He's one of those guys that's going to get you 5, 6, 7 sacks all of the time. He doesn't stay healthy, though, and that's another thing. And that's the problem once we get to this free agency where a lot of the guys you talk about, yes, they have these moments where they can still play football at a high level, but none of them can stay on the field consistently.
I probably would say 0 for 3. Honestly, I would not sign any of those.
I don't love any of them, but of the 3, if I were to choose one, it would probably be Bosa.
And that's why our thanks again to Michael for joining us. But that's why as we run through these best available lists, I can't come off of the idea of so many of these names at each position that are the highest rated and most highly touted.
Yeah.
Are certainly names that have had flashes and have had multiple Pro Bowl seasons in the National Football League, but they're getting up there in years.
Yeah.
And to his point, we asked him right off the top, and he said, I envision at this point, I've seen it go both ways when a new administration comes in, but I envision the Jaguars want to build from within.
Yeah.
And as we have echoed throughout the week here on the Superstation, I believe that is especially true in the trenches. Going out and signing Javon Hargrave or Joey Bosa, maybe that gives you another rotational piece, but that cannot be.
But they'll be you're going to have to pay them more than rotational money, though.
Correct.
Too.
And that is not going to be someone who is a building block for you.
Yeah.
Here's a name, though, that I know a couple people on the text line, Designed by Lifetime Enclosures, threw out at us, and I've seen it a couple of times floated here in the last 24 hours or so. Trey Tomlinson, the former Jim Thorpe Award winner who was drafted by the Los Angeles Rams and James Gladstone, released this morning his agent saying in part to ESPN that he needed a fresh start. Certainly someone who dazzled at the collegiate level, missed all of last season with an injury. He is LT's nephew, by the way, for those of you who are wondering. Was selected in the 6th round because the testing numbers just really, the measurables were the question, right? Because he's 5'7" and 5/8. 4.41 speed, yes. 178 pounds. I have always viewed him as more of a slot guy. And so in case you're just joining us, this is also a no for me. Just because we have spent the better part of today's program has been spent identifying that everyone currently on the Jags roster wants to play in the slot. And probably can. And so the Jags,
we have enough of them.
need someone on the outside opposite Tyson Campbell, and they need a center fielder.
Yeah, and we've talked, it's funny because on both sides of the ball, the reason we're talking about Christian Kirk being released is because we felt like you already have the guys that can operate in the slot, and that is his true thing. So you're like, okay, you don't need another guy there. And then you look on the other side of the ball, and it's almost the same exact situation where you have a lot of depth of guys that can play that slot, whether it, we talk about Savage and some of these guys that can move around, and obviously Jarian Jones. But I think that when you start looking at that, the amount of times that we've been shouting, we need another outside guy, we need another outside guy, that is where your focus has to be.
Off the text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures, the analogy predates your time in Jax, says 586. But signing Bosa would be Aaron Campman 2.0, same position but past his prime and ended up a disappointment. Hey now, Aaron Campman is not past my time, 586. You forget that he is the pride of Appleton-Parkersburg High School in northern Iowa. Of course, played for the legendary, the late Ed Thomas. Very familiar with Aaron Campman. And yes, I'm familiar with the bust that he was of a free agent signing here in Jacksonville. And that's, I think, the bigger argument that can be made as we go around the National Football League, Taylor. The argument is, and I would love your take knowing the moves that the Chicago Bears have made over the last 24 hours. The Jaguars are accepting, at least as of this writing, they may take their lumps. But much like the Rams 2 years ago, where 50% of that roster was on their first season in the National Football League, rookie, drafted, rookie, undrafted free agent. You remember that roster.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's the route that they're going to go, but at the same time, again, they are more than willing to draft those players and build them.
Yeah. I get way more of the vibe here that that's where the Jaguars will go, especially with the history of James Gladstone and what he's done with the Rams and how he's able to evaluate such late talent in the draft. That's something we're not used to here. So I do think that factors in. I have always been big on having a mix of both because I do think it's important to be able to draft and develop, but I also think it is important to also being able to evaluate talent on other rosters and make sure and already kind of know what that player is, but have the confidence that you can come in and mesh them here. Obviously, this last free agency was absolutely terrible here in Jacksonville. So when you look at something like that, you're like, you might as well take some chances on some rookies because if you're paying all of these guys top dollar and none of them end up working out, then you're wasting a ton of money. And so, but I do think you have to take some chances on some veteran guys because the combination of having young and old on a roster, I think, is important. And when you're comparing that to, we talked about this a little bit when it comes to the Bears' approach to the offensive line, obviously already getting Tooney and Jonah Jackson to
also signed Durham Smythe
too
this morning.
And you and I talked about that, and I was like, to me, that's because the Bears don't have a Brandon Sheriff and an Ezra Cleveland. They just don't have that. The room is very bare. You have the two tackles, and on the inside, obviously, he just mentioned Coleman Shelton, that he's going to be gone also. And so there's not much there. And at least in Jacksonville, there's bodies, and there are people that have had moments. So I don't think they feel like they have to force it in free agency. They feel like they have guys that if they draft somebody and they do need a little time to develop, you have guys to stick on the line. Chicago just doesn't have to have that, so they have to approach it a little bit different. But I do think the vibes we're getting in Jacksonville is that you are going to see a lot of young, developmental type of talent. We talked about Puka Nacua and what kind of how that all worked out in LA, and not, hey, they like this guy in the fifth, but did they think they were going to get what they got, that production out of Puka? No. But James Gladstone's confident in all of his evaluations and things that he does not at the combine to be able to draft players and know that they can come in and play and at least be a piece of the puzzle.
One segment to go here on a Wednesday, Wednesday. No. It is Thursday. I promise. I've been back from the Combine for almost a week now. I know what day of the week it is. It is Thursday. It is Helmets and Heels here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
From pit road to victory lane.
Checkered flag is in the air.
This Sunday at Phoenix, NASCAR is revved up by the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Local Union 234. From Jacksonville's NASCAR station, 1010XL.
Shopping with your parents can be embarrassing.
Why would they sell jeans with holes in them? I'm going to speak to the manager.
Mom!
That hoodie is giving. You should get it. YOLO.
Thanks to the Chase mobile app, your kid can shop independently while you keep an eye on their spending. So you can go from
We can be twinsies.
to
How was shopping? Saw you stayed on budget.
Thanks, Mom. Freedom for kids, control for parents. That's family banking from Chase.
Account subject to approval. Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank N.A. Member FDIC.
Hey, Jacksonville, I'm sure by now you've seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We are an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We are committed to customer service, reliability, and have unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. GFL, green for life.
Hi, I'm Karen, owner of Clay Solar Installation Partners, your local women-owned solar company. At Clay Solar, we're more than just panels and power. We're about people. We make the switch to clean energy simple, stress-free, and built to last. If you've had a bad experience with solar in the past, we can help. We specialize in dependable solutions and top-notch customer service, so you can finally enjoy the savings and sustainability you deserve. Schedule your free consultation at claysolar.com.
It's kind of like his own private locker, and you're his guest.
Every time we talk, I'm reinvigorated by my love of the game.
Hey, it's Carline here. Find my blog at 1010XL.com.
Hayes Blog is brought to you by Roland Reach Plumbing, where quality and experience count.
Your yard starting to look a little like a jungle? Well, it might be time for a little TLC. Or how about RTC, Russell Tree Care? At Russell Tree Care, they give your trees the perfect haircut. Whether it's trimming or removing, they'll make sure your yard looks its best, all while keeping safety as a top priority. Call Russell Tree Care today and let them take care of your trees. Russell Tree Care, 844-4Mr. Wood. That's 844-467-9663. Or visit RussellTreeCareLLC.com today. Your trees will thank you.
Out with the old, in with the organized. Mia here, whether you're tackling overflowing closets, a messy garage, or an unorganized pantry, Closets by Design will create a custom storage system that helps you breeze through spring season stress and mess-free. Spring on this deal before it's gone, folks. 40% off any order of $1,000 or more, 30% off any order of $700 to $1,000, plus an additional 15% off. Did I mention free installation on any order of $850 or more? Call Closets by Design today. 1-800-293-3744.
Hey folks, Hicken here for Zero Res. You're going to want to beat the spring cleaning rush and call our cleaning heroes at Zero Res. This month, get one room Zero Resified starting at $53. Hey, and take $100 off your air duct cleaning. Don't forget about your air ducts. Your air ducts sort of like the lungs of your home. If they're dirty, your indoor air quality suffers. Visit ZeroResJacksonville.com. Tell them Dan or 1010XL sent you. Spell it forwards or backwards. Zero Res. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res.
Home is where your story begins. And at Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, we're here to make it the healthiest, most comfortable place it could be. Whether it's fresh, clean air, dependable plumbing, or reliable power, we take care of it all. From routine maintenance to state-of-the-art solutions, Donovan keeps your home running smoothly. Because at Donovan, we believe your home isn't just where you live, it's where your health meets comfort. Call Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing at 904-270-COOL or visit us online. Let's make your home healthier, safer, and better together.
Catch Gators baseball all season long on 1010XL. Pitched by Farah and Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. And Renewal by Anderson, the official window and door replacement partner of the Florida Gators.
When you're experiencing sudden, unexpected dental pain, the last thing you want to hear is that your dentist can't see you until next week. That's why I'm so glad I found Harbor Dental Care. Whenever I call, they always find a way to see me within 24 hours, and they can usually fix whatever's wrong the same day. Plus, they have locations throughout Jacksonville, so no matter what side of town I'm on, I can always count on the same great care. If you want to find a dentist who believes in treating people right, learn more at harbordental.care. That's HARBOUR dental.care.
Learn the secrets to bring your A game on the Edwin Watts Golf Hour.
Yeah, well, you really crushed that ball off the tee, I'll tell you what.
Learn the latest on new equipment from all the major manufacturers on the Edwin Watts Golf Hour. Saturday morning at 10 on 1010XL.
Need a fast casual option that's healthy, fresh, and delicious? Choose the Great Greek Mediterranean Grill. Gyros, salads, hummus, and more made completely fresh right as you order. Off 210 and St. John's Parkway. The Great Greek Mediterranean Grill.
New and pre-owned firearms are always in stock at Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach. Want a new sidearm or rifle? Brands like Kimbar, Smith & Wesson, Sig Sauer, and Beretta. No lines, no hassle. Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach.
Greenlaw Group is for the insured. If you think you have roof damage, call 904-302-7055 today, and they will schedule you a free roof inspection. Trust their law firm to help you fight your insurance when you need it. These storms can cause damage you may not even see yet. Call Greenlaw Group 302-7055. There's no cost to retain their law firm and no cost to have your roof inspected. They only get paid if you win. Greenlaw Group, for the insured.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, the cool down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing. Keeping Jack's cool since 1987.
All right, as Mia said earlier, we are inching closer to Friday, even though she called it Wednesday. But we'll figure out.
I promise, folks. We're not even here in the studio tomorrow. Like, I am ready for the weekend, and yet I'm out here saying it's
Wednesday.
hump day. Yeah.
You're backtracking us, but I do think we have a little giveaway, RJ.
For you, I got a pair of tickets to the Celtic Music and Heritage Festival on March 8th and 9th in downtown St. Augustine, 641-1010. Be caller number 1, and I'll hook you up.
Let's go. Caller number 1, the Celtic Festival in St. Augustine.
It is St. Patrick's Day.
It is,
in
yeah.
just 11 days,
Which it's always, obviously, like Players Weekend has fallen alongside of St. Patrick's Day for several years now. So and this year, I think it's on Monday, right?
Yes, it's on Monday.
So we'll have a Monday St. Patrick's Day just after finishing up a busy week at the Players. But I'm looking right now, Mia, and I know this is a conversation every year once we get to this time. But around now, it does look like weather will be nice next week. Outside of Thursday, there's a little bit of chance of rain, but every other day it's mid to high 70s and sunny. So hopefully that one day of rain moves along and we get a nice Players Weekend. But I want to go back to a name that Michael Giannetti, when we were talking to him of Spot Track. If you missed that, go back and take a little listen to that, because he goes through some names of potential corners in this free agency, some safety names maybe that you could see here in Jacksonville. But when he was talking about the offensive line, he mentioned a name, Coleman Shelton. Obviously, this is a name I am familiar with.
You're going to respond?
I am.
The Heeligans are so happy.
I actually like Coleman Shelton. I will say that. He was there was a lot of rotational pieces because nobody could stay healthy, and he was one of the few that could stay healthy this last year. He had the third most snaps of any center in the NFL this last season, so he played a lot of snaps. He only allowed 3 sacks during that time. During over 1,100 snaps he played, and only 3 sacks in that time. The one issue that I had with Coleman Shelton, and this would be my one concern about this, but to Michael Giannetti's point, you could probably get him on a really good deal comparable to maybe some of these other centers that you would have to get. And we'll see. We'll see what they end up doing here, if they like a center in the draft, or they more focused on that. Penalties, though. He had a lot of issues with penalties, and that would be my one concern, because I think some of that is just maybe not the comfortability in the offense, and because, like I said, there were so many moving pieces. There was revolving doors at right guard and left guard around him in Chicago, so maybe that factored in. So maybe you wouldn't see as much of that if you start meshing him with guys that from day one they're all playing together. But I do not hate that. When he said the name at first, I cringed for a second just because the interior gave me trauma last year. But him himself, he played pretty well, especially when it comes to the pass pro. The run blocking, maybe not as much.
Tyler, if you're listening, I'm talking to you, Tyler Shatley. You are retired. We've been through this before. You and your family have talked about it. There is no walking back through that door outside of for that nice next job. And by next job, I mean whatever the next iteration of his time with the Jaguars is, because he is a Jaguar for life. But look, if you are Tyler, and I don't know if he's listening right now, but if you are Tyler, I think you certainly are looking at the situation and saying, man, they're going to need somebody. Yeah. And that is where, again, I have, before the news of the day, Mitch Morse retiring this morning, before that, all day yesterday when we ran through our top three, or no, on Tuesday. Tuesday, we ran through our top 3 offensive line fits for the Jaguars. On Monday, we did our wish list. I have subscribed to the school of thought that the Jaguars will double dip at offensive line in the NFL draft, and both of those players will become starters. I saw on the text line, Design My Lifetime Enclosures, someone suggested Cooper Hodges. I would love for Cooper Hodges to be the center of the future, to be the right guard of the future. I do not know. He just suffered his second significant knee injury in a single calendar year. I can't bank on him, especially after the Jacksonville Jaguars banked on Ben Barch, who, well, yes, has now had a nice second act in San Francisco and got an extension this offseason. I can't bank.
Funny how that works.
On a player coming back from a significant injury and being a contributing member of this team, let alone being a starter. And so I still think the Jaguars go offensive line twice in the NFL draft. They do find 2 future, if not right away, plug-and-play starters. But they will probably have to bring in at least one veteran to compete with both of those players.
We talked yesterday, Mia, about after the Christian Kirk news broke, we were talking with Gus Logue about how much that changes or could possibly change what they do in free agency, how they approach the draft. And now, do you think this Mitch Morse move changes some of their approach too when it comes to the draft now?
I would like to think that, number one, even if Mitch Morse did not retire, James Gladstone would be drafting a center.
Yeah.
Mitch Morse is 32 years old, 33 actually, I think. Like, I don't think he would have just rolled it
back like we've been doing.
Yes. And I've seen a couple of you on the text line and a couple of you on Twitter saying that this was absolutely atrocious malpractice, roster construction by Trent Baalke, the fact that he could have drafted a center last year in a center-rich class. This is not a rich center class, but it is a rich interior offensive line class because of how many tackles can kick inside.
Yeah.
Don't mess it up this year. And I don't think James Gladstone will. And so I don't think that the news of Mitch Morse retiring changes their plans at all because I think they were going to draft someone anyways. I think it ups the ante a little bit, but that's where I think you'll see a veteran come into the fold.
Mia, I know I have to get your thoughts on this because we had a basketball game last night.
Big one.
Yeah. Florida won, obviously, 99-94. We were talking yesterday about this game and what it meant for Florida, what it meant for that seeding, what it meant for the 2 teams, honestly, in general. But what is your take of this now? Because I've seen a lot of arguments that hands down Florida deserves to be that number 1 seed.
The joy that I took, Taylor Dahl, the joy that I took in seeing so many of my friends in the national media who cover college basketball, so excited, overwhelmed with joy watching the Florida Gators. And I think that is like the part that no one talks about. I know Gator fans, you talk about it, but no one nationally talks about it. This is just a fun team to watch. Like, it is just joyful to watch them play basketball.
Yeah.
Last night, the number of alley-oops that Walter Clayton Jr. threw up for Alex Condon in the final 6 minutes of what at that point in time, and I know the final score doesn't indicate it, but around the 6-minute mark, this looked like it was going to be a beatdown by Florida in Tuscaloosa. And last year, they blew a double-digit lead in the final 6 minutes against Alabama, a team that would go on to reach the Final Four. And the fact that they kept their foot on the pedal, yes, the free throw situation wasn't all that great, but the fact that they kept their foot on the pedal and they never once stopped, that, to me, says that, yes, this is a team that is built to go to the Final Four. Not that I ever doubted it before, but certainly now. Alex Condon being healthy is obviously a massive development for this team. John Rothstein was calling for Todd Golden to win National Coach of the Year. Again, two top 10 road wins for the first time in program history, as Denver Parler of Florida tweeted out. 3 of Florida's 8 all-time wins over top 10 teams have been in the last 2 seasons. Wow. I understand the drama with Todd Golden prior to the season beginning. And my brother's visiting from out of town, and we were watching the game last night, and I explained that story to him. But then we were watching the game, and he said, man, they're really fun. Yeah. And I said, yeah, and they're really well coached. And he said, yeah, look at every loose ball, every rebound. They play really hard. And that is, for me, where maybe Todd Golden remains underrated.
Yeah.
The fact that he has not only had a great eye for evaluating talent in the transfer portal, bringing in Elijah Martin, bringing Walter Clayton back home, finding Alex Condon, who literally his other offers at the Power 4 level, he had 3. One was St. Mary's, the other was Florida, the third was Utah, who fired their coach last week, able to bring him in. And I think that the talent evaluation, as well as getting his guys to play hard and finding guys who have that slight edge, I don't think Todd Golden gets the recognition that he deserves. And look, we talked about with Neil Blackman yesterday. This was an Alabama team celebrating senior day.
I know.
Mark Sears.
We talked about that emotion and what that added.
Gator fans, I know there's some of you out there who are going to get mad at me. I have not submitted my All-American ballot. I've gone back and forth. Walter Clayton, Mark Sears, among other names, Cam Jones, Marquette. Who I'm going to put first team, who I'm going to put second team, who I'm going to put third team. Mark Sears is an All-American. There's no way to dice it. And that was even after a piss-poor start to the 2024-2025 season. And for me to watch Walter Clayton Jr. and company just absolutely punk him and the Dakota Durant, it gave me a lot of joy.
So how many do you see? I know he made a prediction yesterday of how many SEC teams he sees making the tournament. How many do you see right now?
There was a big bubble buster yesterday.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Or bubble buster, is that the word? Anyways, Oklahoma beat Mizzou. Mizzou's been one of the nice stories in college basketball this season after going winless in the SEC last year, and Matt Hayes getting ready to join us here, and he can speak to it as well. This is a clear indication of how the transfer portal can flip your situation so quickly. Mizzou didn't have a conference win last year, and now they're going to the NCAA tournament. Oklahoma did defeat them. We gave that stat yesterday with Neil about how Oklahoma had 4 conference wins going into last night. They now have 5. They have a matchup with their rival, the Texas Longhorns, who are also on the bubble among Joe Lunardi's first 4 teams out. They have that game this weekend. I think they're going to get 13 in, personally. Okay. I think they're going to get 13 of the 16 teams in the SEC into the NCAA tournament. Let's say hello to XL Primetime.
Now, the 2-minute drill. Serviced by Cool Cats Heating and Cooling. Locally owned and operated. We're your neighbors. Find the coolest cats in town at coolcatsjacks.com.
Ain't that the truth, Matt Hayes?
We'll just call it the SEC Tournament 2.0 at that point.
I mean, I was thinking 10, 13.
No, they're going to get, South Carolina and LSU are making it, but Texas and Oklahoma are among the first 4 out for Lunardi, and those are the 2 teams that are in 3rd and 4th to last in the standings. I think Georgia's going to get in. Some people don't. I think the win over Florida is going to carry even more weight after last night. But isn't that true about Dennis Gates and Mizzou? How quickly the transfer portal, basketball, football.
Yeah, 2 years ago they were in the tournament, then they didn't win a game in the SEC. Now they're back in the tournament.
That's the nature of the transfer portal. In college football,
Dennis is a good coach, too.
Yeah, he is. Florida State ties. Some wondered if he will succeed Leonard Hamilton. I'm not so sure, just because I think Mizzou's the better job at this point. Sorry, Knowles fans. I said nice things about you in the 12 o'clock hour.
Much better basketball.
I agree. And better conference at this point in time. Hey, we never thought we'd say that. Point being, Matt, can you say the same about college football, especially looking at Florida State and what happened to Mike Norvell in 2023 and then 2024?
What, that he can turn it around?
Right, that this thing can be flipped.
Sure. I don't think there's any question he can. I mean, it's the nature of this business right now. And I mean, that's what it's so much more about now, the relationships you build not only in high school but keeping those relationships throughout college, because these players are they're basically, mercenaries. They go whoever's going to pay them the most and wherever they can go to play for a championship. It's a combination of things. And they want to get to the NFL and they want to play in the NFL. But they're also now smart enough to know that not all of them are going to make it to the NFL. In fact, only 1.6% of them are going to make it to the NFL. So they know, okay, well, I may as well make money here when I can make money. And then if I get to the NFL, it's gravy. So that's what they're dealing with. It's a difficult job to be a coach right now. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, we were talking about that a little bit. My pest of the day was Bill Belichick. So
your what of the day?
My pest of the day that I had was Bill Belichick. But Matt, so Christian Kirk, Mitch Morse, are you surprised about either of those?
I'm not surprised by either, actually, but I will say this: the whole Mitch Morse thing, and that's fine. He can retire whenever he wants. It's just you look at that free agent class from last year. We're going to get into this on XLP. Is that free agency class?
So bad.
My gosh, that might be the worst ever. It might be the worst ever for this franchise, and that's saying a lot.
Because he was probably the most successful signing, and now he's done it.
And you had him for 1 year,
I mean, Savage barely played. When Darby played, he wasn't any good. Armstead played. When he played, he wasn't any good.
He wasn't in the right spot.
Well, that's what he says.
Yeah. That's what I mean. The San Francisco 49ers probably say he was in the wrong spot, too. But
he played 11 snaps.
We also don't know if the Jags wanted him playing on the edge. Did he want to play on the edge?
How many games did Gabe Davis play? 6? 7?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Wow. And those, he barely played those.
How about that for a parting gift from Trent Baalke, huh?
Yeah.
Thank you,
He's like,
Trent.
here, guys.
Before we let you go, Matt, let us know what's coming up besides Jaguars talk.
We're going to talk Jags. We're going to talk college basketball, too. We're going to get into Gators. Gators looked very dangerous last night, and not just for the now or the SEC tournament, but for the whole darn thing. That's a team that, the way they're built, they can beat anybody. No doubt about it.
I told Taylor I took so much joy in seeing my national media friends embracing just what a joy it is to watch that team, like aesthetically.
It was hard for Jay Billis.
Well,
He for some reason he does not like that team, and not even that team, that program, because it's been years. He's always been like that.
Even with
always.
Mike. I mean, maybe it's just because, Duke, Florida, which one's the number 2 team behind Auburn. That's been a hotly debated topic here in the last month. But no, I mean, Tate Frazier of The Ringer, he put it best. Florida is ridiculous in transition. The lob from Clayton to Condon was otherworldly. In the time that I was making this clip, he had another one-handed alley-oop. LOL. Like, literally, it was just a barrage of highlight reel after highlight reel, but also they can get it done on the defensive end of the floor.
They're ferocious on offense. Ferocious.
They
have
can
no
go
fear.
11 deep.
They have no fear. That's the best part about that team. They have no fear. And they have at least 3 guys, maybe 4, that can create shots.
Honestly, I don't want to say it. They've also got guys who have that slight edge.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They're ferocious, man. I haven't seen a team like this with this kind of mental attitude like that since they won back-to-back. They're a dangerous team.
His words, not ours. Matt Hayes, XL Primetime, coming up next, 2 to 4 here on the Superstation. While we're talking programming, 7 o'clock, JU North Alabama, ASUN semifinals. You'll be able to get that game here on the Superstation. Our thanks to Michael Giannetti of Spot Track for joining us. Our thanks to you, the Heeligans, for hopping on here for 2 hours with us. For the vacationing Lauren Brooks, for RJ Saunders, for Taylor Dahl, I am Mia O'Brien saying so long. We will catch you tomorrow live from TPC Sawgrass.